Hey, friends. You are about to hear a recording of a financial coaching session that I did with Miss Lydia, an aspiring coach who commented on our online community, and I offered to do a coaching session with. Right off the bat, I want to apologize for the audio quality of this episode. It was recorded via Zoom, which, as you probably know, can be a bit glitchy sometimes. There's a part early in the recording where I review the financial information I gathered from Lydia before going into the coaching session. And while I think you can make most of it out okay, it's the part of the episode where the audio cuts out the most. So here's the financial information I gathered from Lydia prior to the session: her monthly income, her monthly expenses, including minimum payments on her debts, her debt details, what debts she has, the balances, interest rates, and minimum payments for each. And that really told me how much extra she has each month. She was paying off her debts, which she had shared, but I wanted to know the rate at which she was currently doing that. And I confirmed what she should have extra to what she was paying extra towards her debt. And those two things lined up. I asked her about upcoming expenses and if she felt prepared for things like a possible car repair or a bill she might be getting in the next 6 months, kind of thing. So I knew the amount she had in savings and how she overall was doing with planning ahead for whammies that could affect her debt if she wasn't ready for them. I also talked to her about how she has set goals in the past and what's sort of been her track record of achieving goals once she set them. Now, Lydia was aware of and on top of these figures. Not every person is, which would have altered the flow of the conversation. Another person could have been facing the same decision as Lydia, but their starting point was different, which means this coaching session would have gone differently. We might have needed to take time to uncover the answers to some of these things first. We coach real people through real life decisions. So please keep that in mind. My guess is that no other person would answer every question the exact same way Lydia did. No other person would have the same financial situation that Lydia has. We all have different opportunities, strengths, struggles, privileges, and challenges. Lastly, and this is important, some of you will disagree with the ultimate decision Lydia made during this coaching session. Some of you might think, I would not have made that same decision. And you are right. And also, Lydia is right. As you are listening to this conversation, the decision or the outcome isn't the point. The process is the point. The choice is ultimately always yours to make, just like it was Lydia's to make. Are you aware of the risks? Are you aware of the financial impact? Are you aware of the rewards? Have you considered the worst case scenario? Are you making the decision for the right reason? And have you considered the mental, emotional, and yes, financial impact of the decision before making it? We coach the whole person on their finances. Join me as I help Lydia to make a clear and confident financial decision for herself.
All right. Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
I want to just take a second to sort of set the stage really quickly. My name is Kelsa Dickey, and I am a financial coach. The name of my financial coaching business is Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. I am also a mentor for other financial coaches who want to do this gratifying work as well. I do all of that work, my mentorship work, through my other business, which is Financial Coach Academy. And this is Lydia. Say hi. I actually have my notes titled Miss Lydia's Coaching Session because I saw your email with Miss Lydia. So hello, Miss Lydia. Lydia is an aspiring financial coach. You live in London.
Yeah.
But you're currently on vacation, on holiday, if you will, in Cyprus, which sounds amazing. And you are doing this coaching session on vacation in Cyprus, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, probably the best place to do it, to be fair. It's lovely out here. It's absolutely gorgeous.
On my list for sure. So I am envious right now of where you're at. I wish I was there with you. I wish I was coaching you in person right now. Okay. So like I said, I want to just take some time to set the stage of sort of what this video is going to be about, what this coaching session is going to be about. I do have some notes on my screen just to help us stay organized and on track here a little bit. So Lydia is looking to start a financial coaching business shared in our community that we have of financial coaches. I think there's, almost 9,000 coaches in that group. But you had posted a question, and I'm going to read the entire question in just a second. But you essentially asked if you should use debt to invest in your business, right? And a bunch of people commented and told you what they thought you should do. Is that fair to say? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah.
Okay. You got some comments like, if I were your coach, the answer would be no. And if it were me, I would blank. There was also, another comment that was like, this is not a good choice. And debt is something that financial coaches need to avoid. And you will want to practice what you teach, right? I am curious, after you posted and you got all of these comments, how did you feel at that moment, sort of getting these answers? Did you feel more confident, more empowered? Did you feel more overwhelmed? Like there was an onslaught of information, sort of just if you could capture for me, maybe what all of those responses, were they helpful? Were they, did it cause a bit more mind drama? Just talk me through that a little bit.
I think I was grateful for all the feedback, because I think some of the responses gave information on things that I hadn't thought of, or aspects that just hadn't occurred to me. So for example, there was a lady that put in the group that, oh, by the way, just like, just I thought it could take a while to get to profitability. So, think about that. And that was something that hadn't occurred to me when I was thinking about making the decision. I was very much I was very much like 70-30 on financing the cause via debt. I just wanted to get it on a very specific 0% sort of deal for 4 months. And when I was looking at how to pay for it, I couldn't figure out the 0% aspect of it. So then that kind of pushed me down to a 50-50. And at that point, I reached out to the group. So the responses were helpful. And I was so grateful that people took time to respond, first of all. It did make me feel like I was part of a community. Good. And I thought for the most part, everybody had a good heart and everybody just wanted to assist me. So that was really, really reassuring. In terms of the actual decision to make, I think I came across kind of like, damn, now I don't know what to do. Yeah. Like I'm still 50-50. I'm still kind of like, okay, they make really good points. Maybe I shouldn't finance it, and then maybe I should wait for longer. And then I pit it against, but you really want this business and you really want this goal. You should back yourself maybe. So still 50-50. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I just want to sort of point out something that I heard you say, which is the comments that maybe you felt most grateful to, which you felt grateful for all of them. People taking the time to respond is always, appreciated and that sort of thing. But the ones that sort of you appreciated the most were the ones that gave you more clarity, right? Like they pointed out something that you hadn't thought of or something that you hadn't considered. And, some of the people, but you still at the end of the day didn't feel more clear about your decision, right? Like you didn't feel as if you could still make a decision, right? But the ones that gave you just a little bit more clarity or something else to think about were the ones that were sort of most appreciated, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had started to comment and I was typing this entire response to essentially coach you through the decision, because I wasn't just going to tell you like, here's what I think you should do. It was like, I wanted to really coach you. And in my, perspective, my philosophy is that coaching is not telling somebody what I think they should do, what I would do, or what I think is right or wrong. That to me is not coaching. And so I see this sort of happen more in the financial coaching space more than almost any other coaching profession. And I think it's because money is oftentimes seen as a very black or white, very analytical decision, very right versus wrong sort of thing. Like it's just math. The best decision is the one that makes the best sense mathematically. And so it's just sort of like you do whatever looks the best on a spreadsheet. But in my opinion, like that's not coaching, even though we're doing financial coaching. Okay. So I was typing this entire response, this comment, and then I decided, I was like, I'm just going to reach out to you and I'm going to offer to coach you live, because it was just, I thought it was going to land better. I could type up this whole comment and all of that. And then it's like, this doesn't land the same. Right. And then you graciously agreed to let us record this session so that we can share it with others so they can see really what financial coaching is like in action. And how are you feeling sort of coming into this conversation right now?
I'm super excited and really nervous because, like, first of all, I'm like starstruck big time. I mean, it's gals are. But like you have a financial coaching empire. But so really, really excited. And I think watching a coaching session has been something that I have wanted for a long time. So to be part of it is amazing. I'm really, really looking forward to it, because I think coaching is there to help bring clarity. And at the end of this session, I'm looking forward to having like clarity and confidence in the decision that I make, because like I'm still a little bit like anxious about it, you know. I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, I'm super duper excited. Super excited.
Yeah. Okay, good. I am really excited too. I'm nervous as well. So I just want to sort of own that. I don't typically record my coaching sessions with my clients. And if I do, it's to give them the recording so that they can sort of replay it or go back and watch it and that sort of thing. But I'm excited. I think we'll both like very soon just forget we're even recording, because it's going to be a really good conversation. So just to sort of recap, I'm a financial coach. You're an aspiring financial coach. But today I'm going to be coaching you through a financial decision that you are facing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I were to say that the goal of this coaching session, you sort of just alluded to this, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. The goal of this coaching session is for you to make a decision that you feel clear and confident in. Would you agree that that is sort of your goal of this session, is to make a decision, but make a decision that you both feel clear and confident in?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And this is really important because indecision is exhausting, right? Sort of like it's today, whether you choose to invest or not invest, it doesn't really matter. It's like once you make that decision, you're going to feel so much better, right? Indecision is a really tough place. And sometimes the decision can be, I'm not going to do it now. I will revisit this decision in 6 months, or I will revisit this decision in 4 months, or like sometime down the road. But it's like, I'm not going to let myself have the turmoil about it for 4 months. Like I'm going to commit to this decision and I'm going to give myself a time frame, and then I can revisit this decision. Or it could be that you decide to invest because that's what feels best to you. Okay. So we're going to ultimately decide based on whatever one feels best to you. So now I just want to do some transparency check really quickly at the beginning of this. I want to read your original post just so that everybody, you sort of summarized it a little bit, but here's the foundation of what we're all working with here. Hey coaches, I need some help/coaching. I wanted to purchase the FCA course on a credit card. I don't have the cash for it at the moment and was prepared to use PayPal credit to pay for it. PayPal credit has a 0% offer for 4 months, which would be great, but I can't seem to be able to use PayPal as a payment option. I have another credit card that I could use, but there is no 0% offer on that one. I was really looking forward to getting on the course this December, and I see it as an investment into my future. I really do want to build a coaching business. I'm currently in debt myself and working to pay it down, so this purchase would have increased my current debt. I don't know if I should delay my plans and risk the course being much more expensive at a later date. I was hoping to be debt-free or practically debt-free by the end of April 2024. I would then have purchased the course on my credit card at that time anyway. So it sounds like you would have, either way, you're kind of, you use credit card to make decisions. It's just whether it's 0% or you're paying interest on it, sort of thing, which is absolutely a strategy. Some people are very anti-credit card. Some people, I personally use credit card very strategically. I never pay interest and that sort of thing. It's not about a right or a wrong strategy. It's just a tool some people use and some people don't use, right? So for you, that it's not the question of like whether credit cards are bad. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Like you're okay. I'm not sure what to do. Any well-meaning advice is more than welcome. Thanks, an aspiring financial coach. Okay, so I've got some notes on my screen. Like we got scheduled for this, emailed you some questions because I wanted to gather a little bit more information. Just want to be really clear on what I know going into this conversation. I asked you what your monthly income is currently, and you work full-time as well as have a side business. I know what your monthly, I just got a little notice that internet is unstable. Can you hear me, Lydia?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, just making sure we're not cutting out. Okay. I asked you what your monthly expenses, including minimum debt payments are, and so I have that number. I asked you what your, so I know the type of debt, the balance, the interest rate, right? I know all of that. I asked you, and so I also know how much extra you have to go towards goals and paying down debt and that kind of thing. So I know that information. I know sort of your cash position every month. And I asked you how you feel about upcoming expenses. Do you feel prepared for things coming up, right? Like, do you feel ready for those? Do you feel good that you're able to handle those and all of that? And then I asked you, when you've set goals in the past, what do you consider your track record to be around achieving goals and setting goals? Like some people sort of like set a lot of goals. And I sort of put this in the emails, like, some people like set a lot of goals and they're sort of like the next week they're on to the next thing. And then other people are like, no, like when I set a goal, it's like, I'm hyper-focused and all of that. So I sort of know where you stand And I do want to ask you one more question. I didn't ask you this in the email, but I'd like to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about financial decisions that you tend to make? And so 5 might be something like you overall trust yourself. You feel grounded and good about the decisions you tend to make. And not that they're perfect, because there is literally no such thing as a perfect financial human. I don't think that. Like, I think about the times where maybe I make a decision and it doesn't pan out exactly like I had hoped, but I sort of think to myself, like, I knew this could happen. I didn't go all in and risk everything on this. So it's okay. Like, I'm glad I tried, right? Like, just because it doesn't necessarily pan out financially doesn't mean I regret the decision, if that makes sense. Like, I feel good about the way I made the decision. And then 1 might be something like, I rarely have any idea what I'm doing, why I do things, why I buy the things I do. I tend to make impulsive decisions that cause me to end up being like super reactionary in life, or I'm constantly scrambling with money in life. That would be like a 1.
Okay.
5. How confident do you feel in the financial decisions you tend to make?
I would say I'm like a 4.
Okay.
So I can I enjoy money. I like the way money works. I like how structured it is. So I think very clearly about my financial decisions. So I know why I make a decision for the most part. But then I can also be an impulsive person, and I can be very strongly impulsive, right? If I feel something very strongly, I will pivot that way and then deal with the consequences later. So I would say that
when you do that, if you can think about a couple of the impulsive decisions, whatever you would qualify as impulsive, and you sort of deal with the consequences later, is that when you deal with it, are you sort of like, is it coming from this like problem solving, like, all right, bootstrap, here we go, gotta figure this out, like, on to the next thing, I got this sort of thing? Or is it like, what were you thinking? You're sort of like internally beating yourself up. Is there regret around the decision? And it's like, oh, what were you thinking, Lydia? Oh my God, here you go again.
Yeah. It can be a mixture of both. It depends on the impacts of the decision, right? So if I make a poor decision, or a decision that pans out poorly because I didn't think it through, but at that time I felt, so for example, this happens a lot when I'm lending friends money, right? So a friend could call me and say, hey, like, I really need some money. Can I borrow some money? And then I will take money out of my savings and I'll give it to the friend. And then they end up not paying me back, right? Then I look back and I'm like, girl, you can't save everybody. Like, you really should have thought through, like, lending that money, right? That was an impulsive thing. I just wanted to help my friend, so I gave them the money. So later I would regret having given that money. And then I would just work to, okay, you're going to save it back up again because you can, and you're going to like maybe pick up extra clients, or, you know, work harder to correct that mistake. And then we're done with it. And then I try not to make that mistake again. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for the most part, I can be a bit of both. I'm definitely very good at, okay, we made mistakes, we're going to correct it. This is the plan to correct it, right? This is where we want to be. We're not there yet. Play with your figures, figure out your budget. What can you adjust? What can you not adjust? And get back to where you want to be and work towards where you want to be. That's kind of like how I do things.
Good.
Yeah. But that's not to say I don't make decisions that I don't regret, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. So, and it sounds like 2 of the things I heard you say is that you, when those situations come up, you sort of tell yourself, like, you should have thought through this better, right? So giving something some thought and intention is one factor that can sort of prevent or make regret happen, possibly, right? Like, you sort of think like, oh, you should have thought through this better. And then the second thing you said is really like it kind of depends on the outcome of that decision. Like, what ends up happening as a result, right? So those are 2 things, which is perfect, Lydia, because those are the 2 things we're going to essentially make sure happen today, that we think through the decision fully, that you understand the decision that you're facing fully, and that you understand the potential outcomes under a possible, few different scenarios, and that you're prepared for those outcomes, and you make the decision with those various outcomes in mind. A lot of the times people make decisions and they're thinking about the best case scenario. It's like, well, I'm going to get this investment property and I'm going to be able to rent it out every month and make $1,000 a month in profit and like, because I'm going to be able to rent it out, but they don't make the decision based on like, what if I have to go 4 months without a renter, right? Like they don't think about sort of worst case scenario. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually play this out. First, we're going to make sure you fully wrap your arms around the decision and you have clarity on it. And then we're going to consider the decision and the possible outcomes of it. That way you understand the risk associated with it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And then hopefully those two
Sounds good.
things, you feel really clear and confident on which one feels best for you. Okay. Now, the last piece of transparency that I just want to touch on before we get into the coaching is, in full transparency, you are actually considering investing in my coaching mentorship program. So you are quite literally thinking about investing in my program, which is a $3,000 investment. Okay. Yeah. As a result, I just want to be super transparent about that, because people could say that I sort of have skin in this game, that because it's my course and I want to make a sale or something like that, that means I couldn't possibly be impartial during this conversation. Coaching to me, though, is always impartial. Always. It doesn't matter if you're investing in my program or something else. It's always impartial to me. I would never tell someone to go into debt, period. Like that's not my decision to make at any point. And I would definitely never do it just so that I can make a sale. And as we have this conversation, you and I talked right before, we hit record, but I'm going to say it publicly for everybody too, is that I want you specifically to know, Lydia, that I support any decision you make today. Any decision you make, I 100% support you. I am not saying you should use debt to invest in my course. I'm not saying you should wait and not invest. I'm not saying that you will regret investing or that you will regret waiting. I'm not saying that it's 100% worth your investment. I do not have an opinion on this. Okay. This is like my job is to make it so that you feel clear and confident in the choice that you are making for yourself. Okay. That is we have the same goal. I just want to make sure that's true. And I am in full support of just you making a decision today. Okay. Because indecisiveness is a really tough place to be. Okay. This is your life. This is your money. You probably value different things than I do. You probably care about different things than I do. You probably look at risk slightly different than I do. You probably make decisions differently than I do. My role is simply to help you better understand how all of those things are at play in this decision for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Sound good? Ready to dive into some coaching finally?
Let's do it.
Okay. The first thing we're going to do is really centered around clarity. And the first thing is just clarity in general, sort of about your life. And so the first thing I'm just curious about, Lydia, is where would you like to be a year from now? What would you like to be able to say about your life or your money or how you feel about your life? And I'm going to be taking notes while you do this, so don't mind if I'm not looking at you. I'm intently listening, I promise. So where would you like to be a year from now, Lydia?
A year from now, I would like to be debt-free. I would like to feel fulfilled about the work that I do in terms of running my own business. So I work in tax normally and I love tax. Like I don't ever want to leave that job. And the most I'm willing to do is go part-time. I love that job. But I also have this intense, innate drive to own my own business and run my own show, and like do my own thing, especially in the coaching space. So a year from now, I would really like to have a few coaching clients. A few coaching clients to be helping with their finances and their financial position, and that kind of thing. I'd like to be on holiday again, preferably. Well, I would like to feel secure about my finances and to know that they're going in the right direction, which means for me, having no debt, because I've felt like debt it's like a rubber band that keeps pulling me back, if that makes sense. It's just such a restriction on my freedom, I feel. I'm not anti-debt, right? I just feel that there's a direction that I want to head in, and debt feels like a rubber band keeps pulling me back. So yeah, that's it. A year from now, I would like to feel that I am working towards my purpose and I'm like actively functioning in that space. I'd like to feel that I'm thriving.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you. Let me plug my laptop in really fast. Just 1 second. Okay. And how would you describe where you are today? What do you like about your life? What's going well? What feels frustrating? Or perhaps that it's like not in alignment with where you want to be a year from now?
Okay. A year from now, so I actually have like all the jobs in the world, it feels like. So I have my full-time job, and then I have a part-time delivery job, which I didn't include in the figures because I'm going to quit that. I find it really, really stressful. It's a huge pressure on my time. It doesn't, yeah, and it's a working environment that I don't want to be part of anymore anyway. So I do a part-time delivery work 3 days a week. I didn't include that in the figures because I'm going to quit that this month. So it doesn't have any impact. But so yeah, I have my full-time job, then I have the part-time delivery job, and then I run a nail business. I do nails and I have clients. So right now I feel very, very pressured all the time. It's a miracle that I had time to come on holiday. It was a very last minute decision because my friend was like, I've got a free paid for space. Do you want to come? And I was like, it's paid for, I'm there. So yeah, right now my life feels very like pressured because I want to get out of debt. So I've been working really hard to do that over the past year. I started off the year with about 20K in debt, and I've worked that all the way down to the figure that you have now. So I've worked really, really hard, and right now I'm tired. I'm like, I'm over it. I want to go into next year feeling a lot lighter, and with a lot less on my plate in terms of work and stuff. Does that answer the question? Okay, yeah. So feeling really pressured.
Yep, that's perfect.
At this point, and I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Tired, over it. Yes, it all makes total sense. Let me just do a quick calculation on the debt. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you've made massive progress on your debt, and that's since January. So great. Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's see. So that is clarity on, just sort of where you're at right now, what you want, sort of where the direction of your life that you want to take it. And so it's really good to know that, because what we want to do is sort of consider the decision you're making, and is it in alignment with where you're going? Is it going to get you closer to where you're going, or is it going to get you further away from where you want to go? Okay. So that's why we like to start with that. And then the next type of clarity that we want to have is around the decision that you're facing. And I use a decision-making framework with my clients called the GAINS framework. Okay. So this is something that I created years ago because my clients would come to me and they would, want to invest in something. And sometimes it was like a health coach, or, so it's not always like investing in me, but it was like a health coach, or, something for their business, or, any type of thing. And it was like, I kept seeing the same sort of struggle over and over again. And oftentimes when we're facing a decision, especially when we're thinking about investing in ourselves and investing in our future, it's hard. And here's why. There's oftentimes a very tangible cost to it. Like there is a price for the program, right? Or there is a certain amount of time that it is going to take from our day or our week or whatever the case may be, right? Like the cost can be very clear to identify, but the benefits or what we gain can be very intangible, right? Like we're going to feel better. We're going to have better habits maybe, right? We're going to launch a business that I think I'm going to love, but right now, right? Like, is it going to be profitable, and when will it be profitable, and all of that? So the gains tend to be very abstract, and we don't always know how we're going to feel after we make a decision, right? And so what happens is it's like you're trying to compare very tangible costs to intangible benefits. And it's really hard. It's like a math formula in our brain that like our brain can't compute. And yet we're trying to make this decision on like, is this a good financial decision? But like, we literally don't have tangible benefits sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To sort of compare to a tangible cost. So what we're going to do is, this is just a process for helping us really wrap our arms around this decision that you're facing. And so you have a lot of more clarity of like, what is this decision mean for me? Okay. So the first thing that I want us to do, step one, it's 5 steps, is identify what it will cost you. What is this decision going to cost you? And this is typically the obvious part, right? Like the financial cost of this decision. So, and then also like, will it cost you time? If there might be other things that it will cost you. But I'll just let you sort of speak to like, in your mind, what do you think this decision will cost you? And let me back up a second, really quickly. The decision right now is to invest in the course. We're not talking whether you debt or no debt or pay cash or whatever. Like, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, we're going to get to that part of the decision in a minute. But really what this decision is like, I want to invest in this course. It's going to cost me $3,000. So that's one of the costs, right? Fits in all the other costs as well. So sorry, I meant to say that.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, $3,000 off the bat. And then it's also going to cost me some time because I need to make time to work through the modules and actually think through the modules and then do the work that's necessary to actually build the business. Because my understanding of the course is that it helps a financial coach to build a financial coaching business. So I'll have to invest all the necessary brain work, niching down, how to get clients, setting up my business, like with all the contracts that I need and all that stuff. So a lot of brain power and a lot of time to dedicate to structuring the thing and then actually practicing the things that I learn as well. That's going to be a cost. So yeah, that's it really. Those are the two costs that I see, the money and then also the time and the mental effort into creating this thing that I really want. Yeah.
Okay, good. That is oftentimes the easiest step because it's like I said, these are the tangible things. We're very aware of them oftentimes when we're trying to make a decision. So the next question is we're going to it's like peeling an onion. Okay, we're going to get each layer is going to get a little deeper. The next step of the gains framework is asking yourself what you fear the decision could cost you. And I'm going to give you an example. If somebody were to hire a nutrition coach, let's say, and this nutritionist gets them on sort of a diet or a meal plan or something like that, and this person, knows what it's going to cost them and that sort of thing, and they know the brain power of like taking the time to meal prep and that sort of thing. But they're also like, you know what? On Friday nights, I go out for drinks with my girlfriends, and I'm worried that I will lose that social outlet or that I'll lose my have fun if I can't go out drinking or something one night a week or something like that. So I have this fear that this decision will have this ripple effect that is sort of a negative ripple effect in my life. Does that make sense? So what would you say are some fears? And it can be, a financial one, like, can I really afford this? Is this really the right decision for me? Am I really going to be able to launch my business? Like all of those things, right, are sometimes relevant. So those are just examples, but what sort of fears or worries do you have around this decision?
I think my primary fear is that it adds to my debt because I'll be financing it debt-wise. But hence, I was so passionate about the 0% interest option. So it just keeps me in debt for longer. And for the past year, I've been so passionate about getting out of a debt position that I'm like, is this the right decision when you've come this close, right? When you've mapped it out till April next year, is that the right decision? Another thing would be, what if I take this course and it's really, really good, but then my imposter syndrome stops me from actively like practicing the things within the course, and then I don't do anything with the course, right? So what if I get access to all this wonderful information and then I freeze, right? And then I don't actually pull through, and I'm scared that how do I put it? I'm scared that I wouldn't believe that I'm a financial coach. So it would be difficult to represent myself as that outwardly. So I'm very capable of taking the course, doing all the bits, and then not telling anyone that I'm a financial coach, right? And just having the knowledge and like ticking off the goal for myself that I studied for this thing, I did this thing, I'm qualified for it, but then never telling anyone that I can do it. Yeah. So I think those are my main fears. Like if I stay in debt for longer because of how, like I explained that thing about debt being a rubber band, right? If I put myself in that position for longer and I'm not able to get out of that rubber band position, is it worth it? Like, will I be okay? Because I'm just going to be in debt for longer, which is not a problem. And it's going to be like a couple of months, maybe three additional months by my forecasting, all things being equal and everything going the way that I want it to. But will I use this course?
Mhm.
Those are my things. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, like will I make the most of it? Will I actually sort of get the outcome that I'm hoping for? Like, will that actually happen? You know, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
okay, good. Great. Anything else that you worry about or scares you about this decision?
No, it's like, okay, yeah. What if I get myself into debt for longer and then I lose my job? God forbid, God forbid, God forbid. Like, I feel like losing my job is one of the worst things that could ever happen to me, like just personally as a person, especially because I'm quitting my like part-time delivery job as well. So I won't have that to fall back on because I'm leaving there. So it's like, it puts me in a position where my main income, if God forbid anything was ever to happen to that, then I still owe institutions money, which is like ridiculous to me. It's a very scary position to be in. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any fear around judgment? Like my friends will judge me if I say I'm a financial coach or something like that. Is there anything? Because sometimes, I mean, launching a business can sort of be like an identity shift too. So, and some people are like, nope, the people in my world support me. They're going to be my biggest cheerleaders. And other people are like, yeah, I mean that, you know, I'm worried about judgment. I have a fear of judgment. Are you worried? Do you have any fear around the time commitment? Like, I don't know, because you had mentioned that like your current life is that you're already feeling sort of strapped for time, or like you're very pressured, which it sounds like that might change a little bit with one job that you're walking away from. But and then it was also like one of the costs is time. So do you have any fear around that time commitment or any of those types of things?
No fear around the time commitment at all. I am more of no fear around time commitment at all. My friends would cheer me on if I said that I was a financial coach because I already like talk a lot about money, and cool. I'm the one they come to like, oh Lydia, I want like, how would you structure this? So they already know me as like kind of like a money person. Everyone knows I want to become a financial coach. I've made that like very loud. So they would definitely cheer me on. I think I'm more scared of my friends not finding out, it's not a secret, but like knowing that I'm in debt than I am with my friends knowing that I am a financial coach. Like if I was a financial coach, everybody would cheer me on. That would never be a problem. Okay. Time, I'm single. I don't have any children. So my 24 hours are essentially mine, right? So I just have to adjust a few things. I don't have a big nightlife or anything. Okay. So time, I'm not worried about committing to the course. I could do that.
And you already have a, nail business. So it's sort of the idea of like, you don't have any fear around, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like you don't have any fear around like, can I run a business or do I know enough to run a business? Because some people have never launched. I mean, that was me when I first started. I had no idea how to run a business. It was definitely one of my fears was like, what am I getting myself into? But you've sort of been down that path already. So like running a business, that part you're not worried about either. Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. Just making sure. Okay. Anything else you want to share around fears or feel good to move on?
Let's move on.
Okay. The next question, step 3 of the gains framework is, what will you gain by making this decision? So this is oftentimes hard for people to focus on because it's actually easier for us, all of us, to focus on what we're going to run away from rather than focusing on what we're running towards. So it can be really easy to focus on sort of the sacrifices we have to make today, those costs, rather than focusing on the freedom or the peace that we're running towards, whether it's a month from now or a year down the road. So what would you say that you think you will gain? So this is sort of like the things that you feel really clear that you will gain. So it's not like a question or anything like that. These ones are ones that you feel pretty good about.
Oh gosh. That I'm very clear on. I feel like I will gain the knowledge that I need to confidently present myself as a coach, right? When I say to someone, oh, I'd love to coach you, or I'm a financial coach, I know what it means to set up a program. I know what it means to like think like a coach and approach. I need the knowledge in this course, period. I feel like it's like saying that you're a doctor without having been to medical school. That's how I think about it, right? Like I need the medical school. I can't think about a different way that I could feel more prepared to become a financial coach. Like I could talk about money and I could read all the books about money and the blogs about money and, relay that to friends who need help and, have my own ideas about coaching people through finances and teaching people how to do a budget or whatever. But what I really want is the layout of like a coaching program, right? When I say come to me, I'm a financial coach, like how to take someone from point A to point B. And I feel like this course will give me that. And as a result of having that information, I will have the requisite confidence that I need to know that I'm able to help the people that I come in contact with as my clients for coaching. Like, does that make sense? Like, this course is the meat that I need on my plate. It's like, I've looked at it. I've got the financial coaching playbook already. I bought that from America. It took ages to deliver. Like, I've been on the website. I've listened to all the podcasts. I just want to be on the course because I think this course will give me the confidence I need to step into this aspect of saying I'm a financial coach. I don't think I can do it without it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So confidence, knowledge, skills, a lot of the things you were talking about, the program, all those types of things, the thinking like a coach, all of that. Okay. Yeah. So though that is, what you will gain as far as like being able to call yourself a financial coach, being able to have a financial coaching business, that sort of thing. What do you think you will gain as far as your life in general? Like, what could this do for you overall?
Yeah. So this could be setting up this business could be the realization of a dream of mine. Like, remember I spoke about one of my worst fears is like losing my job. Right. As a person, I'm geared towards moving away from that. And the way that I find I can do that is getting myself into positions where I am the thing that matters with the way that runs the business. So let me explain it like this. I have a full-time job and then I trained to become a nail tech because I'm interested in nails. Now, the nail business is something that is completely mine. Even if a client says they don't want to come to me anymore, that doesn't change anything. Painting nails is in my head, right? Nobody can fire me from being a nail tech. There are millions of people with hands across the globe. I can move anywhere and train again to become a nail tech. I will always know how to paint nails. I'll always know how to treat nails, right? That's a business that's my own that I can't be fired from. Having a coaching business would be another part of my armor in terms of getting away from the idea that I could be fired from a job and then destitute because I would have no one, like if nobody hires me, then I would have no skill to, I would have no way of like making money and providing for myself and my family. So being able to have this coaching business that I could run, that I would be the thing that I would be the essential thing. That if I'm a coach, no one can take coaching knowledge away from me, right? That is really, really, really important to me. And that would fulfill another thing that I'm on a quest to accomplish in my life. Just, I need to be bulletproof against being fired from a job or, relying on the one paycheck and then something happens and then your whole life falls apart. I hope that doesn't sound crazy. I've just had too many, like in my childhood, we had too many of those instances where one of my parents' jobs got like something happened with my parents' job and then it was the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? It was like really heartbreaking. And as a result, like I come from very humble beginnings anyway. So as a result, I'm on a course to build that kind of resilience into myself so that my future and my future just doesn't have to be reliant on the one income that's controlled by other people. It's just, and thankfully I'm like business orientated, right? It's something that I have a passion that I have burning in me. So it's not something that I have to like make up or train myself to do. I want this business. I need this business. And it's a part of a greater plan. In terms of like protecting myself against life.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't sound nuts.
No, no, and it doesn't, again, it doesn't necessarily matter for me personally, but like, I feel so similarly in the sense that like, if I, needed money, like I could literally go get a client and help someone tomorrow. Like I am never worried about, what I would do if something happened financially for us. You know what I mean? Like I know I don't ever worry with me or anything like that. It's sort of like I am totally responsible and in control of my financial journey, and it feels so much more secure to me. I know entrepreneurship can be scary. It really, really can be, because it's like you are solely responsible for that. And it can also be very empowering and liberating because you are solely responsible. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it really just depends on, this is the mindset, right? This is why we're trying to gain awareness of like, what do I think of this decision? Because not everybody feels the same way you do about that. Right? Like not everybody feels as confident about their ability to like want, or their desire or drive to sort of have their own security and their own income and that sort of thing. So I am hearing you say security, another part of your armor, resilience, confidence, knowledge, skills, like we said earlier. One thing I do want to sort of reflect back to you as we're sort of navigating this is I do think security sounds like a big part of this in two different ways. One, it almost feels as if one fear you have is that this could make you more insecure temporarily, right? Like more debt, possibly interest, if that's what ends up happening, like those types of things. And again, that rubber band. So like now you're in a more insecure position temporarily, but that you're also seeing the potential for more security over time, right? So either way though, security has like this common theme throughout this, right? Like, is this really the thing that's going to make me feel more secure, or is it going to make me feel more insecure? So it's like, that's sort of one of the battles I think that you're facing a little bit. Okay. I think you answered that question sort of beautifully. And I think it was very easy for you because you've run a business before and that sort of thing. I just want to touch on a couple of things really quickly at this question for other coaches, or if someone's sort of guiding themselves through this decision themselves while they're watching this, is the gains question can be really hard to answer for people. And it's because a lot of the times, human behavior, we are accustomed to running away from something. And it's easy to tell ourselves as a result that like, well, it's not bad enough right now. And what ends up happening is a lot of people don't make change in their life until they hit rock bottom, because you sort of like make decisions when things get bad, right? Like when things are bad, I'm going to make decisions. And so things have to get much worse in order for us to feel forced to do them. But when we focus on what we could gain from the decision, it's like, what are we running towards is sometimes harder to feel motivated by, because what we have to do in order to truly imagine the gains is we have to imagine ourselves succeeding at something, right? Like in order for you to talk about all of those things you just talked about, which I feel like you've already done, is like you imagined yourself being a coach, having a successful business, being responsible for your own income and not being tied to a job and what that would feel like for you, right? Like you've done that process at some point, but not everybody does. So it's like, you have to really imagine yourself, which can be hard. If I were to make this decision and I truly succeeded through this decision turned out to be a great decision for me, what would that look like for me? What would I gain? Right. And one of the other questions you can ask yourself with this is, as you're imagining yourself succeeding, I want you to imagine like that you're actually watching yourself. Like, how am I carrying myself? What traits do I see myself embodying? Right. And this is where you talked about confidence, resilience, which is like the ability to do hard things, right? Trusting yourself, the ability, like those types of things. So just for other people who might be watching this, like imagine yourself truly succeeding. Like this is a successful decision, which might at this point feel like a coin flip for you, right? You kind of said like you might be about 50-50, right? We don't know if you're going to succeed. We don't know. But it's one of those things where like you have to imagine yourself doing that. Imagine like yourself embodying that success. And like, what do you gain as a result of that? So based on that sort of, is there anything that you'd like to add in addition to what you said? I thought what you said was perfect. So I'm not saying you have to add anything. I just want to give you the opportunity to, if that jogged anything else for you.
Yeah, like I hope to be like a speaker at different events and, like just bring financial coaching and like financial freedom. And I know that's a loaded term because like people have ideas of what that means, but I just think like I want to I want to bring confidence to people about their finances, right? Even if they're not in the space that they want to be. I want to empower people to, take control of their finances and be in the driver's seat when it comes to their finances. And I want to do that like on a large scale. I want to be on the stages talking to people about it. I want to have my counseling, like my financial coaching and business where like my clients succeed and stuff. Like it's really, really important to me actually. So yeah, I've got like,
yeah, I mean, I think, earlier you had talked a lot about sort of, when I asked you sort of where you see yourself a year from now versus now. And I think there is a gap that you have now in feeling fulfilled with your work, right? So you enjoy your work, you enjoy the tax side of it, but maybe it's the fulfillment of it, the impact that you're having with your work on others is sort of what I think you just described. Okay, so that's good. Okay, cool. Yeah. It's a little bit of a loaded question. I'm going to try and not give you too much information on it. So tell me about your belief in realizing those gains. So how likely do you feel those things are to happen for you? Do you see that, like, is it 50-50 and you're like, yeah, I don't know, or tell me about that.
So at the moment, I feel like those gains are probably 40%, if that, likely to happen for me because I don't feel like I have the information or the
Was
confidence.
that 40% or 14%? 14.
Like, yeah, it's really, really low, right? Because
okay.
I just feel that I can
just tell you're such a financial person really quick. You're a financial person because you literally said 14%, like not 10%, not 20, like 14%. No, like 14%. Like you're such a financial person.
Sorry.
When we ask people, financial coaches, like on a scale of 1 to 5, they'll be like 3.5.
It's so funny because when you asked the question earlier, I was like, 3.8 to 4%. I was like, 3.8 is weird. Just say 4. But no, I feel like at the moment, it feels really, really unlikely because I don't feel like I have the knowledge that I need to like style myself as a financial coach and confidently. So I feel like I can not tread water, but like if my friends ask me, okay, Lydia, what did my friend ask me the other day? She asked me about splitting her finances, like separating her finances, right? Into 2 different accounts. And I said to her, okay, so it sounds like you want more. It sounds like you want to track your spending. So what I would say is decide which expenses are going to come out of which account. Once you've decided that, you will have more confidence and you'll be able to like see more trends, right? On how you spend on your day-to-day money. So separate your actual bills from like your day-to-day spending because that's what you want to see. So I was able to give her that like one-to-one feedback. She's my best friend in the whole wide world. Like we talk every day. That was nothing. But I don't know how to bring someone who feels really insecure about their finances to a place where they feel empowered and confident about their finances, right? And that's the gap that I need to bridge, right? So at the moment, I feel like a massive imposter, because not because I have debt, because like I'm not scared of that figure. I've paid off a lot of debt. I can handle that. The issue is that I just don't think I have all the tools I need to be able to build people up. Like my idea is that coaching really builds confidence. It really builds knowledge and that kind of thing. And I don't have that. So if you were to put me on a stage right now, I think I'd be able to speak, but I don't think I'd be able to instill wisdom and instill like quality into people. And that's what I want to do. That's where I want to go. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think this is, it's a question about, how much do you believe in those gains, but it's really a question about risk. Like how risky does this decision feel for you, right? If you're like, no, I know I can make this happen and I'm going to make it happen quickly and like that kind of thing, then the decision that will influence your decision, right? And especially the amount of risk you take with the decision, right? If the decision feels more risky, or it's sort of up in the air, or a 10-14% sort of likelihood that it will happen, than something like taking on debt or risking your income, or these other risks. See what I mean? So, and this is why I fully believe that I cannot make this decision for you, because I might look at the risk associated with this decision very differently because of where I am financially, right? Or where my experience in setting goals and whether or not I've proven that I can achieve them or not, right? Like, do I trust myself when I make a decision that I sort of follow through, or do I like buy a course and then a week later, end up sort of forgetting all about it because it was an expense on a credit card, and like I sort of like out of sight, out of mind sort of thing. And I have had clients do both, right? Like put an investment on a credit card, and because it is on a credit card, it is like they have a fire under them, and they were like, this is going to get paid off, which means I have to show up at a certain level, right? Like I am like so committed, and it sort of is like the thing that motivates them. I have other clients who put something on a credit card and they're like, a week later, they're like on to the next thing. And because they forgot all about the thing on the credit card, you know what I mean? It's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And other people that it's like, I have this on a credit card and now I am like so terrified of what I have done that now I sort of feel frozen in fear because I sort of regret the decision so much. See what I mean? So, and a lot of it comes down to like how the lens that we view these decisions through. Okay. So now step 5 is I want to just sort of have a conversation where we compare some of these gains, right? Which are tangible or intangible, and also the costs, which again are a fear is an intangible cost, right? Like we fear that these things will happen. And we're not trying to make a decision or anything like that, right? If you were to sort of compare these two right now, sort of the conversation that we just had is that we sort of wrapped our brain around really what you see as like the cost at play and what you're afraid might happen, and also what you could gain and how likelihood you believe that you will gain those. Just talk to me about how you feel seeing these two things sort of, now with a bit more clarity. If you were to sort of make a decision right now, is that a decision you feel like you could make? Is it a decision it feels slightly more clear, but still not confident? Just talk with me about sort of where your head is right now in this process. We're not done, by the way, but I just want to, it's a check. So, okay.
Right now, I feel like the upside of getting the course is so clear to me. Like I know what I want and I know why I want the course, right? I know how it's going to equip me and how I feel that I need that equipping in order to achieve my goal. I'm very, very clear on that. And that's like really bright to me. And then the cost of not doing the course doesn't feel that scary at this point. Like I've been paying off debt. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just part of the course. I could just carry on doing that just for a couple of months longer.
Sorry, just to clarify, did you say the cost of not doing the course doesn't feel scary to you? So like that doesn't, because you're just kind of keep on the path that you're on. Is that what you just said? Or the cost of doing the course doesn't feel scary to you because it would be debt, but you're paying off debt. So you feel fine. Okay.
Sorry, the cost of doing the course, right? Which is which is increasing my debt. It doesn't feel that scary at the moment because once again, the reason I want to do the course is like so fired up in my mind, and like I have like a physical reaction. Like I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that. I know what value I know why I'm going for the course. Do you know what I mean? Like the reason that I want the course is so much clearer in my head compared to the cost of doing the course. Yeah, the cost of doing the course, which was like my fear, like extending credit card debt, like that's not as scary to me because I want to reach that goal. And without the course, I don't think I could do the thing that I want to do. I can't be the person I want to be without the course. That's how I feel about the course, right? So, I hope that answers the question once again.
Yeah, it does. It's sort of, would you say that like some of the things we've talked about, again, it's really just the clarity section that we're in right now. So, were there things that, it absolutely appears to me that you've given this a lot of thought, clearly. Was there anything that sort of like became more clear? Like it feels more like some of the fears that we talked about or some of the gains? Like, does it just feel a little bit more clear in your mind of sort of like what the decision is that you're making right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. And that's really what, either for me, your coach, or for yourself, like just making sure we've asked all of these questions, right? Like we just have to know that like, one of the things you said is like, I want to make sure I've thought through everything, right? We're not done thinking through everything. We're going to sort of take the next step here in just a second. But this is just part of the process of making sure that we've really thought about all the elements of this. Like, what is it going to me? What will I gain? What's the potential of those gains? How likely do I believe that they will happen? Do I believe that they're possible for me? And that sort of thing. Okay. So that's really just the gains framework is all about sort of wrapping our brain around that. And the other thing is, I think when you are investing in yourself, another reason why you want to do this process is because your fears, for example, they actually help you stay grounded, right? So it's like, if I were to keep those front and center, let's say you did decide to invest in this course, it's like one of your fears was around, I don't want this to, or I don't want to have imposter syndrome and not sort of make the most of this or not sort of follow through. It's one of those things where it's like, you can actually use that to stay very grounded. Like, I'm going to keep doing this because I won't let that fear. I'm not going to let that fear have power over me or that kind of thing. The other example is with the example I gave earlier, if someone's hiring a health coach and that person is worried about like, it's going to ruin my time with my girlfriends and then I'm going to lose those friendships and those friendships mean a lot to me, right? That is something you should communicate to your coach. It's not a reason to not hire a coach necessarily. That's not what we're saying. These are sort of your guardrails, right? Like, I'm going to tell my coach, my nutrition coach, like, this is really important to me. And I'm not willing to give that up with this decision, right? Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice this part of my life so that I can achieve my weight loss goals or whatever the case may be. So let's build that into our plan. So these fears and the costs, it's like at some point, this would end up costing you too much. The cost would be too great, right? And you now have a clear of like, what would that look like for you? When would it be like this would end up being where the costs are so great? I don't follow through. I don't get the knowledge or the skills that I need. I have imposter syndrome and I sort of hide out with this, or I end up not getting out of debt and I have this constant rubber band, right? Or I lose my job and then I'm really in trouble, sort of thing, right? If any of those things happened, the cost is now too great, possibly. You see what I'm saying? And by having awareness of them, we can sort of like just pay attention to them. And then the gains, those serve as your vision. So on hard days, because you will have hard days, whether you have a nail business or you have, a coaching business, it doesn't matter what it is, like hard days happen. And all of the gains is like, here's why I'm doing this. Here's what I'm doing this for. This is the long-term perspective. So that on the days where it's like the temporary short-term is like, there's pain or I'm frustrated or it's not going as great as I was hoping and that kind of thing, they actually serve as like my reminder as to why I'm doing it. So all of this is simply meant to help us stay really grounded through the decision. And as it, regardless of the decision you end up making, it's as we move forward through that decision, because we're going to live with those consequences. It's like we keep reflecting on like, here's why I did it. Here's what I was thinking when I made that decision. And I don't want to forget that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So let's see. At this point, sometimes an individual would say like, this seems so clear to me, like the pain of where I currently am, sort of the pain of not making this decision is so great that it's obvious that I need to make this decision right now. Okay. So like, let's say it's a client, like I said, who is, hiring a health coach and they're like, I'm in pain all the time. I have no energy. I don't want to play with my kids. Like literally I have to do this because my life, I am miserable at this point of my life. Right. And it's not worth it. Any investment, any sort of cost that this would, whatever is like worth the risk because I am absolutely sort of like miserable right now. So there are some times where like, that's the clarity a person has in this decision. And if that is the case, like, it's like, I'm doing this. The next question is, how can I afford this? Not can I afford this? It's how can I afford this? Like, how can I make this happen? Because I'm doing it, sort of thing, right? Some people are like, I am doing it no matter what. And it's like, well, let's try to figure this out in the most financially strategic way possible. Now, this is the part that I feel like you've sort of already come to, right? You were like 0%. I think you had gotten to the point where you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to take out a 0% card and that sort of thing. And then where I think you sort of spiraled a bit was like, well, now that option like that door closed, or you thought it was closed. And so it was like kicking yourself. And now it's like, well, now what do I do? This was like the way that made it financially make sense, or I felt good about it. I feel committed to doing it, but now I feel like the plan changed. I don't know what to do, sort of thing. Right.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go into the next step, and we're actually going to analyze the decision through a coaching model. Okay. All of that was just to make sure we are on the same page and that you've got clarity of what the decision is. Now we're actually going to analyze it. And I think the biggest thing with the current decision is that you really want to think about the reason that you are making this decision, and you want to make sure you feel good about that decision. And you said something earlier at the start of the call that I want to highlight. And this is, I want you to think about giving to a friend. Okay. The action that you take is that you give money to a friend, right? You loan money to a friend or give money to a friend. And you had said something along the lines of, I don't remember the exact wording, but you had said something like, the reason I do that is because I want to help, right? How do you feel about that reason? Does that feel like a good reason to you? Is that a reason that you stand by? Like, is that good to you? Right? Like, it'd be, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love my friends. And if I can help, if they need help, and if I can help and from a position to help, yeah, I would do. So I think, yeah, that's a valid reason.
Okay. So imagine if, like, I mean, it's just such a beautiful answer, Lydia, because you're like, yes, I love my friends. Like, this is truly a decision that you're making from a place of love and care and kindness and giving and like that kind of thing, right? Imagine instead if, like, this is sort of true when a person gives to charity. And like the reason they give to charity is because they're like, I just want to have a positive impact in the world. Like, it makes me feel good. I feel like I'm making the world a better place, right? This is a cause that I care about. And I can give this to, these, women, or this, situation, or whatever the case may be. And conversely, somebody who's like, I'm giving because I'm supposed to give 10% of my income because that's what's smart, or something like that. Like, that's the phase of my journey I'm in, and that's what I'm supposed to do, sort of thing. And the reason there probably feels very different to a person, if that makes sense. I'm not saying either one of those reasons is wrong. I'm saying that, like, how do you feel about the reason you are making that decision for yourself? Is that a reason that you stand by? Is it a reason that feels good to you? And so that's what we want to do in this decision. Okay. So your action that you're thinking of taking is the circumstance, first of all, is that you cannot pay cash for this course, right?
No.
That's the circumstance. Not like that is the statistic, that's the fact, right? Like, we know that is the circumstance. Really quickly, do you know what the coaching model is, Lydia? But when I say the coaching model, by any chance, or no? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah. It. I vaguely have an understanding of it.
I'm going to put it in the chat just so you can see it, and I'll say it too, because I know people listening to the recording can't see the chat, but just that way you can sort of like reference it as we're talking. Okay. The coaching model is, it's this idea that, like, we create our future, right? And it's this idea that our thoughts create our future. And it's not the same thing to say that, like, the law of attraction or something like that. It's not to say that, like, if I think it, it just becomes real. Like, I can't just have a thought, but like stay in bed all day. And like, but just by having the thought, all of a sudden that future happens. Like, that's not what we're talking about. There's like a practical application of this. And the practical application is there's a set of circumstances. What you think of those circumstances is the thought that you're having. And then that thought that you're having creates a feeling, right? Every thought we have a feeling about it. Okay. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
Okay. That's okay. So what you think creates a feeling. How we feel determines the actions we take or don't take. So if I'm feeling excited or motivated, I'm likely to take an action. If I'm feeling confused or overwhelmed, right? You can imagine that I might not take any action at all. So an action can also be an inaction. Okay. And we always take an action based off of a feeling. Okay. And then the actions we take create our results, right? So they determine the outcome. So that's why our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings determine our actions. And then those actions determine our results. And that's why we can say that what we think determines our outcome, right? So what we want to do is, we know that your circumstances are that you cannot pay cash for this course. The action you are thinking to take. So we're going to skip the thought line and we're going to skip the feeling line, right? So like the action you're thinking of taking is using debt to invest in a course, right? So that's the action. So this is where we're going to actually bring in the debt portion now. And then we're going to talk about the result in just a second. So the result actually, I think at this point we can say I have debt or I have more debt now and I'm enrolled in the course, right? That is the result. Pretty simple, right? So the action step is I'm going to use debt to invest in this course. What is your reason? If you had to put a thought, like on your thought line, like what is your ultimate reason for that decision, would you say? If you were to make it.
My ultimate reason, because it's a good idea. My ultimate reason would be because it's a good idea and it's going to get me on track to going where I want to go and being where I want to be by the end of next year. Like it puts me in the right direction puts me in the right position for the direction that I want to head in. So that's why I'd be making the decision.
Okay. And how does that reason feel to you? Does that feel like a good reason? Does that feel like the way you want to be making decisions? Like if you were to put that reason in place of any decision you ever made in life, and it could be like, why do I brush my teeth every day? Because it's a good idea and it gets me on track and gets me to where I want to be. And it puts me in the right position for the direction I'm heading. Like if that was the reason that you did all sorts of decisions, does that feel like a good way to be making decisions in life? Does that feel right to you?
Yes, it does, because it has in mind like an end goal, right? So I'm making the decision not because of how not necessarily because of how I feel at the moment that, I'm excited about being a financial coach, but because my ultimate goal is to become a financial coach. And this course is the way that I would want to become a financial coach. So yeah, it feels like a good reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. This is always our first step whenever we're sort of like helping a client sort of make a decision around something or lead them into making a decision, is helping them to see the reason they're making the decision. Let's say when I asked your friend's money, you were like, because I'm afraid if I don't, they won't like me anymore. Because I'm afraid if I don't give them money, they won't be my friend or I'll lose them. Or that's the only reason they're friends with me. Then the question is like, so it's a fear-based decision. Is that the kind of do you feel good about making this decision from that place? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but chances are like, it'd be like, no, like, I don't want to be making fear-based decisions throughout my life. Does that make sense? So if you were to say something like, I want to do this because here's a good example. I have a fear of missing out. I feel if I don't do this now, then I'm going to miss out. And like, this won't ever be an option for me in the future or something like that. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is a fear-based decision, right? So it's like, is that a good reason for you? Do you want to make decisions from FOMO or from a fear-based position? See what I mean? So we always start there. We always start with like getting clear decision. Because if you're not making it for the right reason, and I mean the right reason for you, like it doesn't feel good to you, then we got to get clear on that first before we then analyze the outcome of the decision. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to, do you need a break or anything? I'm actually feeling pretty good, but if you need a break, we can totally pause and take a break.
No, I'm okay.
No? Okay, good. We're on the last step. So the next thing that I want to do is we're going to play out this decision for you. And we're going to look at it from a financial perspective. We're also going to look at it from like how you feel about that decision and that sort of thing. So if we were to look at the model, I want you to imagine that you've made the decision, and we're going to play out a couple of different scenarios, right? So the circumstance line could be one, that you now have a lot of debt or more debt, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm going to back up a second. We want to figure out, like, we're going to play out different scenarios. So I'm going to ask you what the circumstances are. What would be the worst case scenario to happen after you've done this? So you invest and you make this decision and you put it on a credit card. What would be the worst outcome possible? Worst case scenario.
Okay, so the worst outcome possible would be that I go back to London and then I sign into my laptop on Monday and then my manager is like, oh, there's a meeting, you don't have your job anymore. that would be the worst case scenario, that I lose my main role. To be fair, it won't be that bad because I haven't actually quit my delivery job yet. So I'll just have to pivot into.
Okay, just a second. So, because it cut out for just a second, and you said you would you go back to London, you essentially lose your job, right? Like that's what is the worst case scenario. Okay, and now, so that's the circumstance. So, just a second, you're actually naturally, Lydia, you're like naturally coaching yourself, which is really funny. And I don't know that you even noticed it, which is cool because like I think you're just going to learn the skill and the framework, but you're sort of naturally doing it. So the circumstance now is I go back to London and I lose my job. What would you think of that? And now this is where you started to say, like, if that were to happen, it wouldn't be that bad. Now you're actually telling me what you would think about that scenario. Does that make sense about those circumstances?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're looking, your video went away for a second. Are you looking at the model?
Where's it gone? Oh, I'm here. Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry, I don't know where it went.
So,
sorry.
Yeah. Did you go to look at the chat for a second on your phone? Is that what you were going to do?
And then I copied it down. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Whenever you do that, it kind of like removes your video for a second. So, and I'm happy to like recap it too, but you wrote it down. So it's circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. So like the circumstance is like what the potential outcome that we want to think about, which is like the worst case scenario. We actually want to play out worst case scenario, which I know can be scary. But if we know what worst case scenario is, then the next question we can ask ourselves is how do we mitigate against the worst case scenario? Like maybe that can be completely prevented in some way, or maybe like the likelihood of the worst case scenario is so unlikely that we're actually not worried about it, but it's just fear. You know what I mean? It's just a worry or a fear that we have. Or it's like, if that were to happen, I'm aware that that could happen. And so here's how I'm going to mitigate against that, or here's how I'm going to prepare against that worst case scenario happening. And so I'm making this decision fully aware that worst case scenario can happen. I have the awareness, I have the clarity, and I feel like I have thought through that decision of what would happen if it did happen. And I'm making this decision prepared for that possible outcome, and I'm making it anyway. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying you're making that decision anyway. I'm saying that's sort of the mindset we're trying to have going into this, which is, so worst case scenario, you go back to London, you lose your job. Now tell me what you would think of that. I want you to imagine, literally imagine you get back and that happens. Tell me what your thought is about that.
Upset. I would be so upset because like I actually like the job. Not only is it a very secure job, but I enjoy tax. So I would be very, very upset. And then I would just think, oh, damn, I have to stay with the delivery job for much longer and pivot to doing that full time. Or I could just pivot to, do my nail business full time, right? So I would go into immediately looking to get new clients and kind of raising my profile as a full-time nail tech, and then handle things that way. And that would be what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, and then if I had bought the course, then I would just have to become a really good financial coach. like I would just have to make it work.
Okay. But so this is so funny. I'm just going to point out what you sort of did. You actually talked through the entire model right there. Okay. So your thought was like, damn, right? Like you're like, damn. Your feeling was that I would be upset, one, because I enjoy tax. Action is, you already talked about your action. I would like lean more into my nail tech. I would stay at the delivery job and I would just become a badass coach, right? Like that's what I would do. Now I want you to think about the results though. And I do want you to think about the results financially as well, right? So I want you to think about like, what would the outcome be if this happened? Like it would delay your, right? So one of the worst case scenario here is like, I would go back to London. I would lose my job. I would have more debt and I would sort of not have the plan that I'm currently on to pay off my debt by a certain time, whatever that timeline was. I know you told me what it was, but I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Yeah, April. Thank you. I can't remember if it was April or May. So I really want you to think about like the results also, right? Because we're really trying to like get into worst case scenario. And I know that's not like a pleasant sort of thing, but like now I'm not making progress on my debt. I have debt and like you're maybe feeling more strapped for time, possibly. Like, I really just want you to think about the worst case scenario truly happening and what would the result would be for you.
So the worst case scenario is like, So I live at home with my parents as well, right? So I know that like my mom will take care of me. So financially, it would just be about, because I don't make no money as a nail tech, right? Like I would just have to get more clients and stuff like that. So it would just be
was your income that you
toll.
gave me with your nail tech income, or was it just your job,
No,
just your tax job?
It
okay,
was
yeah.
just
So
my
you actually
job.
have okay, good. Yeah. So you definitely have, like, I know the people listening don't know this, but like you've definitely got some cushion every month. Like you've got like your income is already higher than your expenses, and your income didn't even include all of your income sources. Now, one of them is going to go away, the delivery job, but you also have other income coming in. Great. Okay. All right. Keep going.
Yeah. So it would the most costly thing about worst case scenario would be the emotional impact, and having to kind of having to like start something from scratch, right? So the worst case scenario would be if I purchase the course, right, then I'm in debt. It would just be the anxiety of not having the safety of my regular job, and having to work harder in other aspects of making money. The worst case scenario is very emotional because in terms of the time, I like the level of my debt at the moment, I'm putting everything towards it. But even if I have to half that contribution, time is not the issue. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been paying this debt off for ages, and I've been working hard to do this. So it would just be the mental and emotional cost of thinking that I have to do this for longer, right? I have cushions such as living at home with my parents, knowing that my mom will take care of me, and also not being without skill. I could just get more clients, or stay at the delivery job. In fact, the delivery job wouldn't be that bad if I didn't have my full-time job. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a different way of making money. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question properly, but worst case scenario would just mean working harder, right? Harder outside of like my tax field. Does that make sense? Like the main
100%
cost
does.
of it would be emotional.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think this is really important to know. And so you're imagining that you lost your job. You are not making maybe massive progress on your debt, or as much progress as you're making now. It sounds like you would still have the income potential. You'd be working hard. You're a hard worker, obviously. Your expenses are so low already that like you probably could be throwing extra to your debt, possibly, even if you lost this job with nail income or the delivery income, and that even if you weren't yet coaching, let's say, and there's always that potential as well. So it's a matter of the timeline being longer, like you're saying, like that is ultimately the risk. But it sounds like it wouldn't be a matter. You would still have the belief or the plan that your debt is going to be gone. It's just a matter of now that plan is just longer, but it's not a matter of if it's going to be gone or if you're paying off your debt. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that is your worst case scenario. So we now know like what you would think of that, how you would feel, essentially the actions that would take. One thing to sort of think about is the emotional impact of having to start from scratch. So, or the anxiety of not having the safety of a regular job. And so one thing to just sort of think through on your own is if you are in that mindset where you're anxious about the safety of like not having a job and needing to make money, needing to work hard to make money, are you the type of person that like that would light a fire under you and you would just be working hard and you'd be just launching your business as quickly as possible and you'd like sort of go into like hustle mode and you'd be like, all right, pull up my big girl panties, here we go, making it happen? Or is it like you would be frozen and like the anxiety of that, right? Like, oh my God, I'm terrified. What am I going to do? And like the anxious thoughts would be on such overdrive that like you actually feel like you can't be creative. You can't launch your business. You can't work on your business. You actually can't do the things that would get you out of it.
No, there's no choice. I have to do the things to get out of it. Like I'm more the first person. I'm more the first scenario than the second scenario because it has to work now.
Yeah. And this is why I sort of asked you, at the start or beforehand, like, tell me about, how you are when it comes to achieving a goal or reaching a milestone or reaching a goal sort of thing. And it was definitely, that is who you are. You've sort of proven that to yourself already through experience and through your life that that's sort of how you show up. Okay. The next scenario that I want to, really quickly, one thing I would love to invite you to do, and normally this is what I would do with you if you were like a financial client, I had your budget in front of me and spreadsheet and that kind of thing, but is I actually want you to play that out financially. So I want you to look at, if my expenses were this much and I don't have my full-time job, but I kept my delivery job, and how much would I need to make from nail tech in order to still be able to make progress on my debt, if that makes sense? Like, is it even possible? Because this is where like the worst case scenario, we actually want to see like, what would be my plan if that were to happen? And I actually want to have a plan for that. Like, we would probably do this in another session where I would actually sort of map out all the finances around it. I would say like, okay, so let's see, Lydia, you lose this job. Your expenses are this. Are there any expenses that you would cut? Because sometimes people are like, man, I lost my job. I'm going to cut these 3 expenses. They're sort of flexible. And yes, I can afford them now, but I would cut them easily. And other people are like, nope, I would keep everything. And my income from the delivery job would be this. Maybe I can pick up an extra shift or whatever. And then here's how much I could reasonably make if I put a little bit more effort into my nail position. And so, here's exactly what my debt payoff plan would still look like, even if in my worst case scenario, because I want that to be super clear too. Like, how much interest are we talking? When you say the timeline, it would take longer. I want to know, like, how much longer? Are we talking 6 months? Are we talking 16 months? And also, how much interest are we talking about? So like, if it is a little bit longer, but we're saying it's like, well, $200 extra on interest, or are we saying it's like $2,000 more in interest, right? Because again, that is going to help you feel more clear about the decision you're making. You're looking at a paper, so do you kind of have an idea of that off the top of your head or no?
Yeah, I think it would add, so just off the top of my head, just cancelling out the things that I wouldn't need if I was to like lose my job, or the things that I would stop paying for if I was to lose my job. I think that just off the top of my head, playing roughly with figures, because it's not digital, right? It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I think it would add on about an additional 6 months, given that I can pick up extra shifts at the delivery job and then ranch up my nail business. So yeah, it would take an extra 6 months. So at the moment, 6 to 9 months. So at the moment, I'm planning to be debt free by the end of April. It would move that all the way down probably to December, I should think, given that interest is going to come into play on some of the debt. And then, that puts me in a position of like needing to, like, obviously, like some of it is on 0% at the moment. Yeah. So when interest kicks in, it would just make it about 9 months longer, given that I'd have the delivery job. And so if I lost my main job, they're like tons of things that I would stop paying for. And then I would solely focus on paying off the debt, and then everything else can start once the debt is finished.
Okay. And just to clarify, with the debts that you have that are 0%, when interest kicks back in, is it one of those cards where it backdates all the interest, and so it like all the interest gets added, or is it like interest just starts from there?
Interest just starts from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have, what's your credit like? Is your credit healthy? Like if you needed to apply for another 0%, you could, if like 6 months from now, let's say, if something were to happen. Okay. So like if we also just wanted to be strategic about the interest while you're paying it off, that is also an option that you have. And again, I think this is an okay option because you are clearly making massive progress on your debt. Like you are paying it off, right? Like this is from January till now, it's been a huge improvement. This is not a matter of like, if you're good at managing your money and can pay down your debt, you're already doing it. You're proving to yourself that you are doing it. It's just a matter of us buying ourselves some time on the interest or being strategic on the interest while you pay it off. Does that make sense? Yes. Transferring stuff around 0% and all of that is not a good strategy for paying it off. It's once you are paying it off and you're proving to yourself you're paying it off, it's a strategy to buy time and save money on interest. See what I mean? And sort of like speed up the process. Okay. So you do have some options there too, but we're looking at 6 to 9 months. Is it possible for us to calculate? Let me just go up to your debts a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick formula, and this is going to be an estimate. I'm going to do a high estimate purely for the sake of like, how much interest are we talking about? And again, I'd rather be high, right? If it comes in lower, you either have 0% on some of these or whatever, like that's even better, right? Like we're happy. If we make the decision based on worst case scenario, we're going to be super happy when worst case scenario doesn't even happen, because it doesn't usually happen. Let's see. So I'm going to assume these first two, let's say, just to be safe, these first two are not paid off and the interest kicks in. One second here. And I'm going to say these first two because I actually think one of these will be paid off. Like it sounds like somewhat soon, but we're going to pretend like you now have $3,000 more too, possibly, right? Like that's our worst case scenario, is that we've done this and now this happens, right? So I'm trying to be as aggressive as possible as far as like what your debt could be at this time, even though I don't think it will be. So I'm estimating that you would be incurring about $113 per month in interest for 6 to 9 additional months. Okay. So I'm going to do worst case scenario. And again, that's a high estimate. This is assuming it's like 25% interest. Okay. On a big portion of your debt, but some of that could be gone, but I'm just going to assume that it's not, just in case. And for 9 months. So your worst case scenario is that you would possibly incur an additional $1,019 in interest over those 9 months. So this decision will have a financial cost, of course, the $3,000 investment, but then a worst case scenario happening, you know your time cost. It's going to be more work in your nails. You're going to nail business. It means more work in the job, the delivery job. Emotionally, you know the impact, right? Like I might have some anxiety. I might, be a little worried. Things might be a little bit tighter, that sort of thing. And financially speaking, we also know the impact. It's going to keep that rubber band on you for longer, right? Which will also affect you mentally and emotionally. So it's something that you're very aware of. You're already feeling it. And financially, it is going to cost you slightly over $1,000, $1,019. And, we can estimate even higher, 1,100, just to be safe, in interest in that time as well. Okay. So that is the cost of this decision if the worst case scenario happens if you make this decision. How do you feel having clarity on that? If I make this decision and the worst case scenario happens, this is what that would potentially mean for me, where I would be mentally, emotionally, financially. This is what it would cost me, that sort of thing.
I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'd be okay.
Yeah. So this is where it's like every single person right now listening to this could make a different decision. Some people might be totally okay with that. Some people will be like, nope, it's not worth it. I'm going to wait to pay off my debt. There is not a wrong decision here, I don't think, because I fully believe, Lydia, that if you go into a decision with awareness of what the worst case scenario could possibly be and what it would mean for you mentally, emotionally, and financially, and you say, okay, I am willing to accept that risk. That is the risk, because let's say that risk is smaller to me, that doesn't feel that scary to me, that doesn't actually freak me out that much compared to all these things that I could gain, right? That I could actually do all of these things so much sooner, like live my life, have fulfilling work, like blah, 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 all those types of things, right? So that's why it's so important to play out. So, your circumstances are, it cost me $1,100 more. I have 9 months added to my debt. I, lost my job, those types of things. How do I feel about that? Or, what do I think of that? And you literally just were like, I would still be okay, right? I would still feel good about my decision, even if that were the outcome. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Now we want to play out best case scenario too, and then we're done. Okay. And then we're going to see if you feel good about your decision, or if you, whatever decision you ultimately make. Okay. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, what would best case scenario look like? You make this decision to put $3,000 on debt and invest in this course. What does best case scenario look like?
Best case scenario is the course is exactly what I need. And I'm on the ground with coaching clients, running a coaching business, this time next year. So best case scenario would be if I have my full-time job, I'm not delivering anymore, I'm still doing nails like part-time, and I'm running a coaching business on the side as well. And I have about like 5 clients or something, and I'm doing the thing. Like I'm doing the thing that I want to be doing. That's best case scenario.
What would you think of that?
I think it would feel great. I think I would feel really accomplished. I think I will be so glad to have that scenario. And also knowing that like the reason I want to do coaching is to help people, right? Is to help, to make sure that no one has to go through finances the way that I've had to. And to be that helping hand for people, to be that person for people. So I think it would feel great. I know I would feel really, really fulfilled and really, really uplifted by that, you know, because I have a passion for nails. I do enjoy doing nails. I have a passion for tax. I do enjoy working in tax. And I have a passion for coaching. And I do enjoy like the thought of being a financial coach and wanting to be that person for people who need help and for people who need it. So I think I would feel really fulfilled, and I would feel really grateful to be in that position to, you know, do 3 things that you love. Like who can say that they do that? Right.
Okay.
So that it would feel amazing.
Awesome. Okay, good. I do want to do one more thing. So we explored worst case scenario, we explored best case scenario. I feel like that feels very clear. We talked about that a lot, I think, already throughout the conversation. So I don't think we necessarily need to continue through it too much more. I actually want to explore what is the most likely scenario. So what do you actually think could possibly happen? And this is where I am going to put my coaching hat on as far as like a coach mentor for a second. Just based on what I know of what it takes launching a coaching business, right? Because I think the idea is, let's actually play out now what the circumstances would be in the most likely scenario. Best case scenario, of course, like you've got 5 clients by the end of the year, right? Like your coaching business is up and running and that kind of thing. Most likely scenario for some people is, you know, launching a business is hard. Learning how to talk to people and get them to sign up for coaching, right? And have them believe in the value of coaching. Now, for some people, it's going to be so much easier than others. You are already having conversations with your friends about money, right? So that is literally the first start. Some people aren't even doing that when they launch a business, right? So they're not seen as sort of somebody who cares about money and that sort of thing. So they do have a little bit of like you have a jump start maybe. I also think that you speak very well about decision-making process and thought process and how to look at decisions and that sort of thing. And I think when you talked about your friend earlier, how she came to you with a very literal question. And I can't remember, what did she say? How do I open these 2 accounts, or what 2 accounts do I have, or something like that? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. So she wanted to know how her monthly spending, like, you know, her everyday spending. She wanted to know what impact that had on her finances. So I just advised her, listen, you want one account with all your main bills, everything you have to pay, put it there, and then just put a separate amount that you're comfortable with on a different card, and only use that card on your day-to-day, right? Just have strict boundaries on what belongs in the bills category, and have strict boundaries on what belongs in the everyday spending category. And then that way you can actually see what you spend money on a day-to-day basis without worrying about like your main bills, because you've already set aside money for that. And then you can see what your behavior is actually like.
Right. Which, I mean, great strategy for sure. I mean, I think that's great guidance and advice. And I earlier when you talked about it, you had said she asked me about splitting her, you know, bills and expenses into 2 accounts. And I told her, it sounds like you're looking for clarity on like what you're doing with your money or where your spending money is going. And even just sort of, I started this call by like, are we on the same page as far as what we're trying to achieve today? Right? Like, is the goal that we have. You literally did that step naturally when you were talking with your friend. You said, so it sounds like what you're looking for is blank. And then, so you clarified that first, and then you sort of gave her a step to take or some advice and that coaching and that kind of thing. In other words, I do think you sort of have a natural instinct, I think, for sort of like, a person asks me this, what I'm hearing them say, or like the ultimate goal they're after, even if they didn't ask that in a very specific way, like this is sort of what they're trying to achieve. Does that make sense? So I do think and some people just do that naturally. A lot of financial coaches, what happens is they do that in their head but they don't verbalize it to the client or the individual. And so sometimes it's harder because the client isn't bought into the process because they don't understand the coach's thought process. But you sort of reflected back to your friend what you were thinking and why you were thinking it. Okay.
Yeah.
Which again is just a skill that sometimes needs cultivated and can take a while to cultivate when you're still launching your business. Even then, getting clients can be hard. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't always go as easy as planned and that kind of thing. So if I think 5 clients in a year is very reasonable. I mean, some people are like, I want to make $100,000 in 3 months. And it's kind of like, okay, I mean, I want that for you and I'm rooting for you. And also like, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, I think 5 clients is reasonable. What if it takes a year to get your first client, let's say?
That's fine because I'll have the knowledge. I'll be a good coach by the time I get them. You know, my worry is that I don't want to be a deficient coach, right? And in order to do that, I need the scores. So as long as I go through the course successfully, I'm able to set up my business. I have the knowledge and the tools that I need to be a successful coach. Then that's all I need. What I need is the confidence to be able, like whenever a client comes, right? Whenever the clients get here, I need to be able to make sure that I'm offering a valuable service and a service that's worth the money that they're paying. So even if it takes a year longer, it's not like I'll be broke. I'll have all the knowledge of a coach and then I've got like 2 other jobs. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm still a nail tech. I've still got another business. So yeah, if it takes longer, it takes longer, but I'll have the knowledge I need to be a good coach when they get here.
Okay. What if the circumstance is that you are experiencing imposter syndrome and you are not taking action in your business and you're not getting clients because of that? What would you think? How would you feel? What would you do?
But I would cry about it, and then I would be on the monthly coaching calls.
Okay, good. Actually, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like the action would be that you ask for help. You don't sit there, like you join the calls. You like that kind of. Okay, good.
Literally. Good.
Okay.
It would be that, and then I've got like some friends that I've got really encouraging friends, right? So in that scenario, if I was feeling imposter syndrome, they are who I would lean on. And my friends are amazing cheerleaders. They will pick me back up and they will make sure that I'm confident. And they will give me action steps and ideas on like, you know, how to raise the profile of like my coaching business and stuff like that. And I already have friends who tell their friends to come and ask me for things, right? They're like, oh, I've got this friend and she'll teach you how to do a budget. Or I've got this friend and she'll talk you through things. And they do come to me and say, oh, my friend is thinking about doing this. Is a good idea. And stuff like that. So I would, if I was feeling imposter syndrome, I would lean on my friends heavily because they will pick me up.
Good. Okay, good. So I think it's just really what we're doing is we're playing out various scenarios after the decision is made in order to say, like, what would I think of that? How would I feel about that? And what is the risk that I'm running here? And do I have sort of plans and backup plans and that sort of thing so that I'm prepared? I'm mentally prepared. I'm emotionally prepared. And I'm also financially prepared. So that this decision, we can't control the outcome sometimes, right? Like we are not always in control of what happens. Like you don't think you're going to lose your job anytime soon. It doesn't sound like that's likely, like you said that, right? And also like, we don't know how the CEO of that business is running the business, right? Like we don't know if they're like running into the ground or whatever, like we don't have control over that. So it's one of those things where it's like, what we want to do is make decisions with awareness and with intention and with this idea of like, I have thought about the risks of worst case scenario. I have thought about what I will do if X, Y, or Z happens. And I'm going into this decision, not just prepared on like the best case scenario and the rosiest picture and like hopes and dreams and unicorns and butterflies and all of that, but also considering that like this could cost me something and I'm aware of that cost. And I am accepting that cost or that risk inside of this decision. And that I'm aware of it because that's where buyer's remorse or regret comes from is like sort of, it's one thing where if it happens, you're like, I was ready for this. I was prepared for this. Here's what I said I was going to do and that kind of thing. So you're going to get a recording of this, of course. And I would like really try to write out like, here was my plan. Here was my plan for this, like that kind of thing. Normally we would do that in a coaching session with a client as it would all be part of their plan, sort of like these contingencies, because then later it's like, hey, we were prepared for this. We were ready for this. This is what you said, how you thought you would think, or what you would think, how you would feel, and what you said you would do if this happened, right? You know what I mean? So it's sort of like we can prepare in a lot of different ways. So do you feel as if you are in a position to make a clear and confident decision for yourself in this way?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Thank you so much. I've definitely got clarity.
Yeah, you do. Would you like to share what decision you have made?
I'm totally taking the course. I'm totally buying it. Like, why should I postpone my dreams further? Because I'll be okay. Like, I will actually be okay. But I'll take the course.
Okay, good. Do you feel, I want to make sure, because again, like I just, I support you either way. I really, really do. You feel good about like, this is the risk. This is what this could mean for me. This is the decision I'm making. This is the outcome. This is what it's going to cost me financially. And do you feel empowered by the decision that you are making right now, that this is you owning this decision?
Yeah, I feel amazing about it. I feel really, really good. I feel really lifted and I feel really encouraged because like the thing that I want and why I want it makes so much sense. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely the right call to put myself in position to be where I want to be next year. Because a few more months of paying debt, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing a lot of it for a long time, and I will be okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't, and it's arbitrary anyway. Like, if I don't do it now, I'm going to be doing it in April anyway. Like, the cost was always going to go on a card, period. So that's not, like, I'm not scared. I'm not worried. I know that I'll be fine. And more than anything, the reason I want to do this shines so brightly in my mind. And the thing that I want to achieve as a result of taking the course shines so brightly in my mind that I don't see why fear should hold me back from it anymore. Because really and truly, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for going down this journey with me today. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful to you. I'm proud of your decision, and I would have been proud of either decision that you made, because I hope you can see that like the way you answer some of these questions are not the same way that people would sort of feel about them, right? So a person might say, you know what, that cost is too great, or the risk of that happening is too great, or it scares me too much that like it actually doesn't make this decision worth it for me. I would rather wait, right? And it is not my decision to make. It's sort of like you are bringing into this conversation who you are as a person, right? Like all of these ways, whether you believe in yourself or what your circumstances are, right? That you have friends and you have family and you have these opportunities there that somebody else might not have, where the risk is actually really, really great, right? That it actually would mean that they're destitute or, now don't have a roof over their head or any number of things. And I could also completely understand if that person, after thinking through this decision, was like, I'm not going to invest in the course right now. It's not a good time for me. The risk is too great. And I would absolutely respect and have compassion for that decision as well. And so, Lydia, I'm curious, would you like to help people make these types of decisions every day? Like, as a financial coach, does this sound like, would you like to be on the other side of this table?
100%. Like 100%, you have done me, honestly, the most wonderful favor. Like, this was such a gift. Like, I've been jumping up and down about it all day.
You literally came back from the beach so we could do this call. You came back from the beach. I can't believe it.
Literally. So I'm so grateful. This has been so wonderful. And I feel so much lighter. Like, it's just, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful process. Like just this approach to making decisions as well, right? Like I feel like I have buy-in. I feel like I made this decision not on impulse, not on emotions, not on focusing on what could go wrong, and not like naively focusing on what could go right, but actually looking at the figures, looking at my thoughts, looking at the circumstances and thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself because real talk, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'm actually going to be okay. So,
totally.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for letting us record this. I'm sure everyone's going to be really thankful because I think this is going to be a really great experience for everybody to enjoy. So thank you, Lydia. Good luck. I'm going to send you an email afterwards after we hang up. So you'll hear from me in just a little bit. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, Lydia. Okay. Bye.
I would love to hear what you thought of this coaching session. Did it surprise you? Did you enjoy it? Would you make the same decision as Lydia or perhaps a different one? I'd love to encourage you to use the questions and the framework for a financial decision you may be facing. And if you want help making clear and confident decisions for your life, meet with a fiscal fitness money coach. You can get on our coaching waitlist by going to our website or clicking on the link provided.